Hi, today from Oman, from Khasab at the street of Hormuz. Today we'll be talking about adulthood and why I think politicians are like children in our times. See you after a short break. Hi again from Oman at Hormuz Strait. Let's start with the notion of childhood, with the notion of maturity, with the notion of adulthood. What's the difference between being a child and being an adult? The main difference, the psychological difference, is the responsibility. If you can take responsibility for yourself and for your actions, then you can be considered adult. And as a child, of course, you are dependent on somebody else, and somebody else takes responsibility for what you do and for your life, right? So you are just not responsible, for example, for, let's say, the crimes or your deeds, and worst case, your crimes, but also you are not to be trusted to take the responsibility. You are not able to take the responsibility or to bear the consequences of what you do. So somebody needs to tell you what to do and take care of yourself, and so on. So with that definition, we have to follow that in modern Western, let's say, welfare countries, most of the population are children. Not only the real children, but also the people of 18 years and above, 21 years old and above. They are also children. Why? Generally because they don't take full responsibility for their actions. And since there is social welfare, and they can always count on unemployment support, on some other support, or let's say when they retirement, and so on and so on. And of course there is a spectrum of responsibility, and so also the spectrum of being adult or of being a child. Let's say who are, let's say, the average employee, the average citizen is, let's say, in the middle of the spectrum, maybe a little bit farther to being a child than an adult, because as I said, he can count on the social support, on the social welfare, on let's say food stamps, if he can't afford the food. In some countries he can count upon the state or the government to pay for his shelter, for his house, for his electricity bill, for his water. Maybe he can get unemployment support, also medical care if he can't afford to pay for it himself. And in many countries there is free health care, and so on. So he is closer to being a child than to being an adult. On the very, let's say, right side of the spectrum, meaning the most adult people in the society, but still the average citizen takes responsibility, let's say almost full responsibility. It is for the crimes or the bad things he does to other people, right? So, for example, if he commits a crime, he can be sentenced and taken to jail, but still, he gets free food and medical care in the jail and so on. But still, he gets some responsibility in the sense of not of losing his, let's say, his normal freedoms. But this, in more and more countries, also this responsibility is being limited. So, for example, he can't get a death sentence. And also, if he's considered mentally ill, then he also, this responsibility is limited. So there is some responsibility he takes, but this is not a full responsibility for his life, and he doesn't bear the full consequences of his deeds. On the most, let's say, spectrum to the right are actually entrepreneurs, because they take the economic responsibility for their deeds. They can go bankrupt. They mostly, they pay themselves for their medical care, for their retirement, and so on and so on. So this is probably the most you can get about responsibility and also freedom, because with freedoms comes responsibility. If you really want to be free, you need to take responsibility for your deeds, for your actions, because if somebody else takes responsibility for your deeds, for your actions, he is your captor. You are his slave generally. And then, okay, let's say we're going more and more to the left. If they are like government officials, they take even less responsibility because they are, first of all, they get, like, let's say, free retirement. They can get additional perks, like sometimes, free food from the government. Sometimes they get, in some countries, like in Germany, they can be fired. More economic perks, so less economic responsibility for their deeds, and also less criminal responsibility, because if they act according to the law, they can't be sentenced, or they can't be tried for their actions. If this is the law, if, let's say, the law in the Third Reich, in the Nazi Germany, told it is legal, to put people to death in some circumstances because of their race or whatever, and they did it. They couldn't be sentenced, of course, within that jurisdiction. They couldn't be tried within that jurisdiction. They just followed the orders. The same with, with soldiers and so on and so on. And also, if you are a public servant, and you see also by the naming of that, he is a public servant, meaning he is kind of a slave of the state, right? He is the servant. He is not a free person. He serves the state, the government, and for example, as a public servant, as a soldier, whatever, a policeman, if he gets injured, if he gets an accident or whatever, if he gets, I don't know, shot or somehow injured, then generally he could be retired from the service, even being like 30 or 40 years old, and then paid to for the rest of his life by the state, by the government, right? So there is also this less economic responsibility for, what happens to him or for what he does, right? If you get injured as an entrepreneur, let's say you do risky stuff, right? You go, I don't know, you are an instructor of bungee jumping and you get injured. You are bad luck, right? You don't get anything, right? Maybe your family would support you, but certainly you won't get any perks from the government. Okay, maybe if you insure yourself, but which insurance will insure you for bungee jumping, right? But there is even less, and I think the extreme case in a modern state is actually the politician, right? Because the politician doesn't get much economic responsibility. Usually, he gets all the perks that a normal citizen gets, all the perks that a public servant gets, and also he usually gets a very high retirement, even if he just is, like in Germany, it is enough that he is 4 years in Bundestag, in the German parliament, then he gets a full retirement, a very high retirement money for the rest of his life. Even if he retires from government, he went once and he retired, let's say, with 24 years old, he will get very high money till the end of his life from the state, or from the government, from the country. So the least economic responsibility and also the least criminal responsibility, because he can even, without, it is not the law, whatever, he can ruin somebody, he can ruin the full industries, like it happened in the times of the so-called pandemic. And nothing happens to this guy or to this woman. There is no responsibility because he is a politician. He makes the rules. He makes the law generally, and nothing happens. There is no responsibility. Even if he, poisons thousands and hundreds and millions of people with some experimental, let's say, treatment, and this is done, let's say, following his ideas, with his best, let's say, best intentions. He can poison millions of people, maybe hundreds and thousands of people would die from this treatment, and there is no responsibility whatsoever for this. He can even bring a country to the war and cause hundreds of thousands of people to die in the war, and there is still no responsibility, right? Because he was, acting within the system, within the let's say, norms of the system, or within the acceptable rules of the game, and so there is no responsibility for the great, let's say, catastrophes that he may cause. So this is the lowest responsibility you can get in a modern welfare state, and with this lowest responsibility, meaning this is the most childhood or the most childish circumstances that you can get as an adult. And following the definition of adulthood, of taking the full responsibility for your deeds and actions, politicians are the children of our times, and they are the, so to say, the most spoiled, the most unresponsible children of our times. I wonder your opinions about that topic. Write your comments down below. Give me a thumb up if you liked it, thumb down if you don't. Subscribe if you haven't. Share this video with your loved ones, with your friends. One day they will thank you for that. I talk here a lot about economy, about society, about philosophy a little bit, but a lot about money, about how to do business, how to do impossible things in your life and business, how to take responsibility for your deeds and spread your wings and do whatever you want to set off in your life. So if you like this video, you will certainly like my other videos. I invite you to watch them. That's it for today from Oman. I wish you a fantastic day. Let's do something extraordinary today.